Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning in. Also, thanks for making us number one on KFXA Fox 28 late night. Always appreciate you having you tuning in. Got another great show lined up for you this week. I know you'll think so after watching it. Parker Hesse will join me in just a little bit, former Hawkeye great from Waukon, Iowa, my home area, near my home area of Postville, Castalia, Iowa. And then after that, Kent McCausland, former Iowa Hawkeye sharpshooting great in basketball. Kent McCausland will join us. But in the meantime, Joe Mershman will join me here in just a second, as will Hawkeye insider David Eichel. That being said, I've located Joe Mershman. Joe, first and foremost, as always, thanks for joining us. And secondly, how's everything going with you? I know you've got a weather analogy with the Hawkeyes, so lay it on us, please.
Well, it's big change. 2 weeks ago, it was 0 for a low and 3 for a high. And now today it's going to be 50 for a high and 30 for a low. So Hawkeyes are heating up. The weather's heating up. It's all good.
I love it. That's a great analogy. And Joe, we'll look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks again, my friend. Talk to you soon.
So long.
And I've located David Eichel, as you can see on the screen, all his information at the bottom of the screen, as well as all my information there. So first and foremost, as always, David, thanks for joining us. Secondly, you had press availability with the players and Fran today as we record this on Tuesday afternoon. This airs on Friday night. So obviously the Nebraska game will be played by the time the viewers see this. And then on the weekend, the Hawks end the regular season at home against Wisconsin. I'm going to step out of the way, as always, and let you hit your mark. Go.
Yeah, of course, Dave, Iowa's not really wanting to talk about Wisconsin whatsoever. They're always, next game up. And I'll say this, Nebraska's got their full attention. As we saw the other night, Dave, they led Rutgers by 30 at one point, despite leading scorer Teddy Allen electing to leave the team. So that was a little bit of a surprise to them. But I think that Nebraska team showed a lot last night. They were really defending the 3-point well. So I'm very eager and interested how that goes on Thursday. But obviously the big news this week, Dave, Jordan Bohannon and Luka Garza, Austin Ash, Michael Bear will be playing their last games in Iowa uniform. All four of those guys will go through senior day ceremonies. It'll be a very different senior day ceremony. Obviously, the parents won't even be allowed to be on the floor, which is a bit disappointing, but not surprising with the Big Ten tournament coming up and the NCAA tournament coming up. But you talk about two of the greatest Hawkeyes of all time, Jordan Bohannon, Luka Garza, two maybe more so unforgettable and iconic and unique characters in their own right. Dave, as much as they brought on and off the court, obviously Fran was very eager to talk about them. Didn't seem overly emotional yet, but obviously I think we'll see that here in the next coming weeks when it comes when it really starts to come full swing and the games get more meaningful and everything just amps up another level.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Austin Ash, obviously his dad Carrie and I lifelong friends, and I've known Austin his whole life, and so I am going to be having Austin on at some point in time after the season, and congratulations to him, Michael Bear, Luka Garza, and Jordan Bohannon, as you mentioned, on great careers at Iowa. And I will say this to you, David, Nebraska, what they did to Rutgers, as you mentioned last night, and then you take a look at what Michigan did to Iowa, then you look at what Iowa did to Ohio State. Iowa loses a game, wins a game, and goes from number 9 to number 5. Ohio State loses 2 games and doesn't drop out of the top 10. Michigan at number 2. I'll tell you what, David, you talked about it all year long. This Big Ten is a crapshoot going down the final stretch here.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing, Dave, people need to take away is Iowa's playing its best basketball of the season right now. Both ends of the floor, according to Bart Tavarik of the Stats website. Iowa right now is, since February 5th, is the 10th most efficient offense in the country and 10th most efficient defense in the country. So if Iowa can continue what they did against Ohio State the other night, I think Iowa's going to go into March with a lot of swagger and a lot of confidence. Talk about the Fran fade. I don't think you can say that this year based on what they're doing and peaking at the right time.
I'm glad you said that, and you're exactly right. They're playing for that double bye. We all know how important that is in the Big Ten tournament, and then, of course, national seeding in the national tournament coming up for March Madness. So, David, great stuff from you as always. You see his information at the bottom of the screen. He is the Hawkeye Insider. David, thank you so much, and I look forward to catching up with you next week, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Stay tuned. We've got Parker Hesse, former Hawkeye great and now current Tennessee Titan, and then Kent McCausland, former Hawkeye sharpshooting great. Back with more Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair, upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
When you're a farmer, there's a lot of things you can't control. but there is a way to give your soybeans an early advantage. Mershman Seeds soybean seed treatment featuring Turpidity ST. An independent analysis has proven faster and more even emergence every time. Just look at the Mershman difference. Give your crop the boost it needs for a uniform stand. For the best yields, grow with us. Mershman Seeds.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, I'm joined by Parker Hesse. Parker Hesse, formerly of Walk-On Iowa, formerly of the Iowa Hawkeyes, currently with the Tennessee Titans. You see all his information at the bottom of the screen. Again, if you miss any part of this show or past episodes, go to @Dave O'Hara Sports via social media or DaveO'HaraSports.com, as you see on the bottom of the screen as well. First and foremost, as always, Parker, great talking to you off the air. Anytime we talk, it's fantastic. Great fun, entertaining, informative. Now I'm bringing it on the air for the first time for the viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for doing this. And secondly, how's everything going with you, my friend?
Well, Dave, thanks for having me first off. But yeah, things are going great. Just started training about a month ago for this upcoming season, going into training camp, looking for another opportunity. But I certainly enjoyed my 3-4 weeks off there after the season. Took it easy, took it slow.
Yeah, I've got to get to this right away. Ike Budker and I, Tristan Wirfs and I talked about this in the past couple of weeks. The transformation you make going from Walk-On High School, where you're a quarterback. Marcus Weimiller's your running back. He goes to Northern Iowa, has a very nice career as a running back there. You obviously go to Iowa. You have a great career there. But as a defensive end, not as a quarterback. Ike Budker has that similar story, being a high school quarterback. I see a smile in there as a high school quarterback and tight end and goes to Iowa. But you switch the sides of the ball. You go to defense, playing defensive end. You redshirt, as most Hawkeyes do, coming in your freshman year in 2014. And man, you come on like gangbusters, 4 years straight being a starter and a leader on that defense. What was your experience like with Chris Doyle, Kirk Ferentz, the rest of the coaching staff, that transformation you made physically, but also mentally from offense to defense, going from Walk-On Iowa to Iowa Hawkeyes?
Yeah, well, first off, fortunately, Walk-On's a small enough town that I was able to, play both sides of the ball. And, throughout my high school, I was able to play a lot of different positions. So I kind of had experience all over on the field. And just, kind of had the ability to learn new things. So I came in my first year, I was actually a linebacker when I redshirted. That's where I was recruited, and it went into, about bowl prep my first year. And, Coach Ferentz, called me into his office, asked to make an appointment. And I was freshman. I was super nervous. I was like, geez, what are they kicking me off the team for? I don't even remember doing anything bad. So I went in and he just said, I think, we're hurting at defensive end. We're trying to get some young guys in there. We think you could do it. So, I never really doubted him. I thought, him and the coaching staff, they've been doing this a long time. So if they believe in me, there's no reason I shouldn't believe in myself. And, obviously it took, another year or two for me to gain another 15, 20 pounds, working with Chris Doyle, working with the strength staff, just doing a lot of eating. But I was fortunate to, find myself in a good position and find myself in a place where I felt comfortable, and I, kind of grew a little bit.
Yeah, and I need to ask you this, as I did with Ike Budker and Tristan Wirfs, and obviously I don't want to discount anybody else's experience at Iowa or with Chris Doyle and the strength staff. We all know the controversy that went on there. But what was your experience like with Coach Doyle? I've heard nothing but positive things with Ike Budker and Tristan Wirfs. And for you, as you said, Ike said it's fun eating for the first month, or getting to eat whatever you want and putting on weight for the first couple weeks to a month. Did you have that same experience? And then Coach Doyle pushes you pretty hard, and the strength staff does, but man, you were a leader on the field and in the weight room, but that had to be a nice transition for you once you got used to it, though.
Yeah. Well, I'll start first with the eating. Yeah, it's everybody, you talk to says, oh, wouldn't it be nice that, I sit down and I'm like, oh, I don't weigh enough. I got to eat more. But honestly, it gets uncomfortable at times, and certainly when I'm done with my playing days, I'll be excited to slim down to, a little more natural weight for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my personal experiences with Coach Doyle, he certainly respected me as a person, and I was someone who was able to have a leadership position in the program. And when I look back, also with just moving to defensive end, that kind of change, and also the strength and conditioning program is what allowed me to do that. Is kind of just who I got to show who I am and how much I care about the team on a daily basis.
The intriguing thing to that, though, when all I've ever heard about you from other reporters, people around the staff, around the plate in your era and your time, what a leader you were on and off the field. No clearer example of that from A.J. Epinesa, who everybody was like, why isn't he starting? Why is Epinesa not playing? And you got Parker Hesse and Anthony Nelson. And the respect that your fellow teammates have for you and had of you, I'm still blown away by that. Is that a natural thing for you to be a leader like that? As you mentioned, being a leader for Coach Doyle and the strength and conditioning staff, and then on the field, in the locker room. Where does that come from for you? Were you a natural leader, or did you have to learn your role and get into that?
I think, for some people it comes really natural. The thing I have going for me in terms of leader is I like playing football. Like a lot of playing football and winning games, like those are things that, I find interesting and fun. So, that just kind of lends itself, to doing things that your coaches and teammates respect you for. As far as being like outspoken, that's not always, who I've been. And it's still not, something that I'm comfortable with. Sometimes it can be challenging to, demand accountability out of your teammates or people that you'd really just like to kind of laugh and joke and like with, but as a team and as an organization, you need more out of them and yourself in certain areas.
Yeah, and that you led by example, obviously.
Yeah, the biggest thing, with in any organization, people can pretty much tell anyone's intentions, and it's always fun to play with guys who care about the team. Like you can tell any player who cares about the guys next to him, cares about the team winning. Those guys kind of, tend to be people that you look up to and you enjoy your experience with.
Yeah, and that's all I ever hear through and through throughout that program from whatever era or years that guys played at Iowa. That's awesome to hear, especially in the Kirk Ferentz regime. So we got to ask you this in the next couple of minutes as we close out this segment. And you said off the air too, whenever it works in your schedule, you'd be happy to join us, and I look forward to catching up with you down the road. But wanted to have you on for being from my home area. You're from Waukon. I'm from the Postville, Castelia area. So obviously high on the list of having you on this program, as with Josie Jewell and others, and we'll have those down the road as well when that works out. But what is your experience like now in the NFL? So now you're back to the offensive side of the football, playing with the Tennessee Titans. You were on the practice squad during the last couple seasons, and now you're on the roster in the offseason going back in. And I know with Corona, being a part of this and changing things for OTAs coming in April, and then your camp and mini camps and such upcoming before the season, practices start this summer into the fall season again. What's that like for you, switching back to the offensive side of the ball where you're a tight end now, wearing number 83?
Yeah, that was it was kind of a tough decision. I was coming out, we had pro day, the draft came and went, didn't get drafted, and I didn't get signed as an undrafted free agent right after the draft. So I had a rookie mini camp in Kansas City as an outside linebacker, and then I had a rookie mini camp in Detroit. So on my way to Kansas City, the Tennessee's tight ends coach, who is now our offensive coordinator, was there. He was watching Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson, obviously. Mm-hmm. And he had asked me to jump in some of the tight end drills. So as I was on my way to Kansas City, he called me, and the then offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, called me, and they said, 6 of our 7 tight ends are hurt right now. We need to sign one out of rookie minicamp. Right now, we only have one other person. So I was like, okay, I have a 50-50 chance of getting signed if I go next week, but it's also a position I've never played before. So I talked to Coach Ferentz. I called him. I just thought it over, and I thought, I played a lot of snaps at Iowa on defense, and maybe, if this is going to work out for me, it's at a different position. And so sure enough, I went down there. I got signed out of rookie minicamp, went through OTAs, got a ton of reps because guys were hurt, and ended up sticking on the practice squad. Go through another, crazy year with coronavirus, and I was on the practice squad again. But yeah, so now after the season, I was signed to a futures deal. I'm on the 90-man roster now, and I'm just working towards training camp again, just trying to make a 53-man roster.
I love it that you're working out in Iowa City, at least temporarily, and heading back down there. You guys are definitely on the rise in Tennessee with the Titans, with Tannehill as your quarterback and Mike Vrabel as your coach. You guys are in the playoffs the last couple of years, one of the best teams in the AFC. So it's going to be fun to watch you guys see how this future progresses. You being on a futures deal, but also seeing how the future for the Tennessee Titans rolls out for you and for them. Fun stuff, Parker. Thank you so much. Best of luck, continued success, and we look forward to catching up with you very soon whenever it works in your schedule, if that works for you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Dave.
My pleasure. He is Parker Hesse, as you see his information at the bottom of the screen. Thanks again to him. And we'll be back with more to close out the show with Kent McCausland, former Hawkeye basketball playing great. Back with more Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, in just a few moments.
Farming makes a positive difference in my life. I love to take care of the yards and the flowers in the garden, but I also like the opportunity that I have now that I can get in the combine and help when they need that. During the fall, one of the main things that I take care of is hauling grain to the elevator or hauling it here onto the farm and getting it in the bins. Women in general just have more opportunities that they can show their strengths today on the farm.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, Kent McCausland joining me. Kent's information at the bottom of the screen, along with mine, if you missed any part of this show or past episodes, at Dave O'Hara Sports via social media or DaveO'HaraSports.com. Kent is still the all-time leader in three-point shooting percentage at the University of Iowa in Hawkeye basketball history for the single season and also for a career. Single season, 52%. For the career, 45%. Kent is still part of the last Hawkeye team that made it to the Sweet 16 in 1999. Kent's dad also played at the University of Iowa. Kent does a TV show with his dad, Mac McCausland, and our mutual friend, Rob Brooks. So go to Kent's personal Twitter handle, as you see at the bottom of the screen, at Kent McCausland, for all that information. First and foremost, Kent, thanks for joining us. It's been great catching up with you off the air. Glad to bring it on the air. How you doing, my friend, and thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for having me. It makes me feel old when you shout out some of those stats and some of those things. It's hard to believe that an Iowa team has not been back to the Sweet 16 since 1999, but that is the fact. Not that there haven't been some great teams along the way, it just hasn't occurred for the Hawks. Hopefully this year will be a little different.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. Hey, we're going to have a Michael Jordan story, viewers, so stay tuned for that, because Kent has a lot of history in and around basketball, still does today with his sons coaching and watching them play. So we're going to catch up with what Kent's up to off the court as well. So Kent, let's get to it right away with the Hawkeyes. You know, last week, an interesting week where they get beaten pretty handily by Michigan, understandably so. Now Michigan, the number 2 team in the country, the Hawks catapulting to number 5 after losing that game starting the week at number 9. And then they beat Ohio State pretty handily at Columbus. And you know what it's like to play there at both places, and at Michigan and at Ohio State. But that win against Ohio State carried a lot of weight, didn't it?
That's a great win on the road. And like you said, as you head into that week, wow, what a brutal schedule. You're playing at Michigan and at Ohio State, and you really thought, hey, let's split them. If you get both, that's unbelievable. You're really playing well. But if you can get a split, I thought that was a win for the Hawkeyes, and they were able to do so. Michigan is a different animal than Ohio State. You look at Michigan is going to compete to get to the Final Four and maybe win a championship. Obviously, we want the Hawkeyes to do the same thing, but the difference between those two teams is the big kid Hutchinson inside that was able to give Garza enough problems. And if you can give Garza problems, then you make the other Hawkeyes have to make shots and make plays. And when he can draw a double, he can make things easier for his teammates. And you saw that at Ohio State. They were getting up and down. Joe Toussaint has a fantastic game. The bench comes in and plays well. Frederick's hitting shots. Wieskamp's being aggressive. Everything was working, and great win by the Hawks on the road at Ohio State.
Okay, I'm going to have you put your prognosticator hat on then now, Kent, after we reviewed those games. Now we go into this week, and by the time we record this on Tuesday afternoon, so by the time the viewers see this on Friday night, the Hawks will have already played Nebraska at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and then they're getting ready to close out the season on Sunday on national TV against Wisconsin after beating Wisconsin in Madison earlier. Now they play Wisconsin at home to close out the regular season. That double bye, as you know, again, Kent, in the Big Ten tournament is going to be very important instead of the single bye, as also seeding for the National March Madness tournament upcoming. So I got to ask you this. Nebraska, what's going on? They beat Rutgers very handily last night. Again, we record this on Tuesday afternoon. Let's not forget we have the Illinois-Michigan game tonight. So there is a lot of flux that can still happen in the Big Ten standings. So on any given day, right?
It is the Big Ten, right? And I think you could look at even at the Ohio State game. And if you're an Ohio State fan against Iowa, you just kind of laid an egg. You just did not play well. And you have those throughout the season in the Big Ten where you just don't play well. It's whether or not you can grind out a win or not in those situations. The Wisconsin game, I would not take that as a gift, right? You got to take care of business at home. Wisconsin did not shoot well in Wisconsin against Iowa. Now, the defense sure is improving for the Hawks, and that man-to-man looked fantastic against Ohio State. But Wisconsin's going to come in thinking we can get a big win against a ranked opponent, a top 5, top 10 opponent in Carver Hawkeye, and then we can improve our resume and we can bump up the standings. You got to be ready to play because Wisconsin is going to come in and they don't have any pressure. They just need to come out and play. And you know they're going to be physical. You know they're going to play defense. If they shoot better, they're going to be right there in that game with the Hawkeyes. So Iowa's got to be ready to go and be very intense, just like they were at Ohio State.
Well stated, Kent. And I got to, transition from here, into the rest of the tournament. We'll talk as the season goes along, but I've got to do a little catching up with you here and let the listeners and viewers know what you're up to these days. I know it's on the bottom of the screen at the beginning of the segment, and at the ending of this segment, it'll say, you're a partner with PDCM Insurance, and I want you to kind of update the listeners and the viewers what you're up to today, and then we got to transition to the Michael Jordan story from years ago, please.
Yeah, you bet. So moved back to the state, moved back to Waterloo about 11 years ago from Kansas City, which I'm sure you're okay with. I'm a huge Chiefs fan now, so luckily I have been that way since high school, but I get to reap the benefits of having Patrick Mahomes on my team, I guess now. But moved back to Waterloo, Iowa, and now a partner at PDCM Insurance, and do a lot of property casualty, medical malpractice coverage, construction, manufacturing, so more in that business world, and enjoy it. We've got a great group of employees and co-owners, and got to work with my dad for several years, so that was enjoyable and horrible all at the same time, as some of you could imagine. But he's been terrific and a great mentor for me, both in life and in business. There at PDCM.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I love the Kansas City area. Still have a place there, and worked at Fox Sports Radio there for many years. So, like West Des Moines, it's a very, very big insurance company town. And now you're back in your native Waterloo, and you went to West Waterloo High School, and then of course University of Iowa Hawkeyes. So, Kent, we've waited long enough. I got to hear the Michael Jordan story. I'm going to let you set it up. I'm going to step out of the way. I'm not even going to try to frame this story. I'm going to let you take over from here and update us on that, please.
I'll do the best I can. It is a fantastic story. So I think there's a summer in between my sophomore and junior year. J.R. Koch and I were looking for opportunities to get better in the summertime. We always stayed in Iowa City and played in the primetime league, and we'd go work camp at Iowa or whatever. Rich Walker says, I think I can get you into this Michael Jordan basketball camp if you want to go into Chicago and play and be a camp counselor. And we said, okay, we'll go. And so we go, we find out that, Michael comes to the camp. It's at Elmhurst College, outskirts of Chicago. And so he comes every day. He'd show up in a different Porsche, a different Ferrari, what have you, license plates, MJ23, or come in and you'd swear, God had walked in the building. There's just electricity when the man walks in the room. So we get to see him every day for about an hour, and he'd talk to the kids and everything. But at night, as counselors, we would all play against each other. So it's about 30 Division I college kids there working as camp counselors. And so we'd play at night. And one of the nights, Wednesday night, it gets around the camp that Michael's going to come that night and play with the counselors and show off for the kids, right? So big deal. We show up. Michael's not there yet. So the camp director comes out and he says, all right, I need 5 skins and 5 shirts to kind of get this thing rolling, and the kids can watch you guys play for a little while. And as he's about to jump it up, in Michael Jordan fashion, he makes an entrance, and you hear this murmur coming from behind the stands there in a small gym in Elmhurst College, and the place just starts erupting. And here comes Michael. He's rolling out. The flash bulbs are going. This is back when you had cameras you'd go buy at the store, and he comes out and he says, "One of you shirts have to go." And we look at each other, JR and I say, "We're not going anywhere." And this kid just volunteers and he walks away. So Michael's on my team with JR, another guard from Bradley, and then a power forward, I think. The guard was from Utah and a power forward from Bradley. So we've got our 5. As you can imagine, we win the first game. Okay. We're going up and down, and Michael is doing his thing, which, again, playing at a completely different level than anyone on the floor. And he's probably not even playing at 30% capacity. I mean, he's just out there entertaining. And we go up and down and we win. And true to The Last Dance, if all of your viewers watch The Last Dance, you know, he wants to win every time at everything, no matter what. And so we get the win, and the director comes back out and he says, "Okay, I need 4 new shirts to play with Michael and 5 new skins to play against him." And Michael looks at him and says, "Nope, we won. We're staying here. We're running all night." And so 4 guys got to play with Michael Jordan that night, and I was one of them, and J.R. Koch was one of them. And we had some good exchanges back and forth, and he hit me with a pass. You know, you hit a jumper and you point back to Michael, and he points back at you, and you really feel like you're in heaven, right? I mean, Jordan is kicking the ball out to you, and you're making shots for him. Like, I'm John Paxson. How good is this, right? So, terrific experience. And I called my dad after the night, and he just said my voice was shaking and I was rambling, Lord knows what. And I don't know that I remember exactly what I said either, but it was a terrific experience.
What a terrific story, and thank you for sharing that. And Kent, you're definitely coming back whenever your schedule allows it, because we've got so many more stories we want to catch up with you on, more basketball analysis for the Iowa Hawkeyes going into the Big Ten tournament as they close out the regular season and then go into the March Madness NCAA tournament. So I look forward to catching up with you hopefully sooner than later if that works in your schedule again, Kent.
That'd be great. I'd be happy to join you anytime that you'd like me to.
That's fantastic. He is Kent McCausland, still the leader at the three-point percentage for a season and a career at the University of Iowa, and played his 4 years there and finished in 1999 with a Sweet 16 appearance with the Hawkeyes last time they were there. So hopefully this is very foreboding into the near future for the Hawkeyes. Kent, thanks so much. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
You too now. Thank you. For Kent McCausland, Parker Hesse, David Eichholt, and Joe Merschman, I am Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. Thanks to you, the viewers, for tuning in, making us number 1 in late night on Fox 28 KFXA. Also, please stay tuned for just a second afterwards as the credits roll to give the advertisers and sponsors of this program the time they so richly deserve, and give them your business if you can as well. Without them, we don't have a show. So that's all from me. Thanks to all of you.